From the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, D.W. Gannett.
Well, hi there, and welcome to episode number 136 of The Evidence. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D, and I am coming to you from the Sunrise Command, spending a little bit extra time up here, trying to stretch the summer out, but it's getting cold, I'll tell you. Hey, we got some cool things to look at today, and so you know what? Instead of just talking about it all the time, let me just remind you that this is an X3D channel. That means that it won't make sense to you unless you learn to view the images in X3D. Just click on the link below. Most people with normal vision can learn it in just a couple of minutes. Okay, you ready? Here we go. We're gonna start out today with a whole bunch of oddities that we found in Nev's GMAC of the 1104 NavCam. Now, this one may be a bit more difficult to see for some of you, so I'm going to flash the highlighting a couple of times while I ramble on. We have what seems to be a rectangular structure of some kind, partially buried. Look at the left side, straight as an arrow with regular divisions along its length. Then there's that rectangular plate in back. Down the right side, we have heavier structures that are quite regular in appearance. The light-colored piece has two semicircles cut out of it, and down to the right of that, another squared piece with appurtenances displaying both symmetry and periodicity. For my Iowa friends, them sticky-outy things, they's all the same shape and size and everything. I mean, they's all in a row, like little soldiers. This one caught my eye, not only because of the shape, but also the way it's reflecting the light. Is this a pipe of some kind? Let's get blurry for a moment and have a look. What do you think it is? Maybe it's not a pipe. Could it be a piece of industrial equipment? Or maybe it's something as simple as an ashtray that's tipped over into the sand. You've heard me say it before, for all you anomaly hunters out there, be sure to check the horizon, because NASA, as a rule, usually doesn't take the time to hide the stuff that's off in bumfuzzle Egypt. They'll usually wash things out in the background, but that can be fixed. That lump off there in the distance caught my eye. So let's get a bit closer and see what we have. That looks suspicious to me. I'm aware, just like you, that this could well be a geological feature, what we call an oogie, or an object of geological interest. It's going to get blurry as we get in a little closer, but I think it's worth a look. Those regular sections with what might be openings, plus that white top. Is this just interesting geology, or could it be an ancient, crumbling, and, by the way, gigantic structure? As we continue to look out to the horizon, I wish this was more clear, but it seems to me that those are walls on top of this mesa, with a cluster of buildings off to the right. Now, some of you may be saying, I just don't know about that, oh Imperial Galactic Overlord. Well, just hang on a moment. My friend Misa Dreschik is an excellent researcher. He's got a wonderful Facebook site called Star 2. That's linked down below. Why not head over there and give him some love? Now, to be fair, Both Chokri Yaish and Sarah Runcie lay claim to making this find, and as you know, with so many eyes on these images from all around the world, there's a good bit of overlap involved. I personally don't give a pig's whistle for who found it first. I just want to show them to you and give credit whenever possible. As far as I know, Misa was the first one to point this out, but kudos also to Chokri and to Sarah. This entire mesa, and indeed all the mesas in this NavCam GMAC, seem to have ruins all over them. I put a box around the most obvious ones where you can clearly see the box-like structures of ancient walls. Can we be honest for just a moment? If you saw this image and were told it was an old black and white photo from an archaeological expedition in the Middle East, you wouldn't hesitate to call these ruins, would you? But for some reason, when we find things like this on Mars, we get mocked and told we have pareidolia or just have feverish imaginations, and that, of course, these things are only a trick of light, shadow, and geology. I have a technical phrase I like to use with such willfully blind people. Bite me. I realize this particular view is a challenge, especially if you're new to X3D viewing. But as you relax your eyes into this image, what do you see as you slowly scan from left to right? Pay attention to the shapes formed by light and shadow. In my opinion, this is an extensive compound covering the entire area, and it seems to have a fortified wall surrounding the entire complex. Let me break it down into sections as we take a closer look. I know it's blurry, but as I look around, I see structures that incorporate squares, rectangles, triangles, spheres, and domes. And that dark wall in front appears to have spheres lined along the top. As we move to the right side of the compound, you can clearly see the wall in front and also in back. We see lighter colored structures, nicely aligned, almost as if there were streets or plazas between them. And take a look at this if you haven't already noticed it. Inside the box, there seems to be a structure like a Quonset hut. You know, you can see that the lower portion is white and the roof is a dark color, perfectly curving over the structure. And it's clear to me that this is a dome. There are more domes in this image, but this one is the easiest to see. We have been telling NASA for years that not only is there water on Mars, like, seepage and underground reservoirs, but there is standing water, running water, waterfalls, lakes, and then there's that famous image of Curiosity covered with dewdrops and frost. It's only in the last couple of years that NASA has finally admitted that there is water on Mars. This is a small lake or a large puddle, your choice, found by Sarah Runcie. As far as I'm concerned, the reflectivity, the way the light plays across the ripples tells me that this is water and not sand. Here's a somewhat closer look, and you can see that rock right in the middle reflecting on the water. No, there's nothing wrong with your eyes. The 3D on this one is pretty wonky, but I wanted you to at least get an idea of the context. Let's zoom in before y'all get a headache. A couple of things bother me about this one. The overall shape is roughly symmetrical, not perfect, of course, but I think you see what I mean. And those lines, both of them are arrow straight with those two nice notches at the top. There aren't enough non-fractals present here to make a solid determination. So I'm going to call this one an oogie. Nev's GMAC of Mirador Butte has at least one very interesting formation that Sarah Runcie shared with us just the other day. It's up there on the hillside inside the green target. Of course, the first thing that pops into mind is a swastika, kind of an incomplete one though. The larger one on the top left not only is a perfect 90-degree angle, but it's clearly like a bent pipe or some other type of framework, because you can see right through to the rocks behind it. Then to have that smaller one to the right, perfectly parallel, is a dead giveaway that this isn't natural. How could this possibly form through natural erosion? I've got an answer for you. It can't. Here's a good one from Sarah Runcie, something I'm calling a stand-up artifact. It's totally strange to have this thing just sticking up in the air, especially in the middle of large, flat rocks that seem to make up the hillside. See what I mean? Two parallel sides, both matching, with a nice, even gap between them. Then there's that piece sticking up at the top, like it's giving us the finger. Even though I'm calling it an artifact in the info box, it's probably more accurate to call this an artifact candidate. I don't know about you, but if I was hiking in the desert and saw this thing, I would absolutely have to go over and check it out. Of course, that's just me because I have curiosity, unlike curiosity, which doesn't seem to have curiosity. Curious, isn't it? I always love to salt in one of Rami's offerings now and then. Most of his finds are outstanding, and he does a great job presenting them. Be sure to check out his website down there in the description. I guarantee you, it'll keep you busy for a while. This is a beautiful trapezoidal block he found back in 2015. But I'm sure most of you can see that there's more going on in this one than just that big, beautiful block down front. For example, did you notice this kind of round jar just in back? This reminds me so much of the famous Baghdad battery that you see here. Is this a big Iron Age battery or something else? We can't know for sure, of course, but the resemblance is pretty compelling in my opinion. And before we leave this one, how about those arches carefully rockified and hidden by NASA? Wouldn't you love to know what these are or what they're part of? Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. I really do appreciate it. And you know, if you saw something you liked, maybe leave a thumbs up on your way out the door. That sure helps the old algorithm out, keeps us going. If you'd like to maybe support this work in some minimal fashion, try clicking the join button, or there's a PayPal link down below. Every little bit helps more than you know. Meanwhile, there's also an email address if you have something you'd like me to take a look at. For all you proud weirdos out there, you know who you are. Stay safe and stay weird. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.